Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. The first thing we're going to look at is an update to yesterday's story about the cat obsession. The OP replies, edit/update, I get it, I'm the jerk. I'm the hugest jerk you've ever seen and possibly some kind of deviant who compares cats with genitalia. 10 is a senior cat, it's not perfectly safe for pets to fly under planes, and my girl is not crazy for loving her cat. I called her this morning and apologized. She said that she needs time to think. At a kind person's suggestion, I sent her a link to my public shaming, and now I'm going to go hide under the bed in hopes she'll notice my strange behavior and still cares enough to call the vet on me. So I guess it's good. OP's kind of learned the error in their ways. Hopefully they're able to kind of move on from here. And yeah, but I just thought I would share this update from OP. Alright, our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Having Saved Up a Lot of Money and Not Telling My Wife? My parents got into a car crash and passed away when I was like 18. Mostly everything was left to me except a few things given to different family members. I decided to open up a bank account and save the money for when I might need it. I also added money from each paycheck. When I met my now wife, I didn't tell her about the money. Instead, I told her not to worry about having to pay for an emergency. I would have it covered. Now that we're married, we're doing well. We just had a kid some months ago and something came up unexpectedly, so we were running short on money. I told her I would figure it out and not to stress about it. She became suspicious about how I was able to pull it off. I repeatedly told her not to worry about it and that at the end of the day it didn't really matter. She wasn't satisfied with that answer. I wonder why. She went asking around and one of my cousins told her about me saving up money after my parents' accident. Nobody knows how much money I saved, so my cousin probably thought it was a small amount. My wife is now upset about it. I honestly don't know what the issue was. I could have used the money for anything I wanted, but instead I'm using it for my family. So, am I the jerk for saving money without my wife's knowledge? Alright, OP. So I think it's kind of general consensus, I think most people will agree, that when you're in a serious relationship, you disclose these kinds of things. And the fact that you are hiding this from your wife probably makes her wonder what other things you might be hiding. So probably the first thing I imagine she thought when she heard you say, oh, I've got this taken care of, is that you were maybe potentially doing some illicit activities in order to make ends meet. Potentially selling things that might not be, generally well accepted. So that's just it, is like, you exchanged one set of problems for her for another set of problems. You've made her probably worry about how you're acquiring this money. What things are you doing to suddenly miraculously have money? And so I imagine that's part of the reason why she's worried. Now, you did tell her, I guess at the beginning of your relationship, not to worry about an emergency, but that's really vague. And she might also like to know how much of a security blanket that you two have just in case something does come up. Not to mention, like, if she never knows about this money, then it's going to be hard if something happens to you, potentially, to gain this money if she didn't know about it. I mean, like, if you have it explicitly written out in a will, that might be, something that would be easier. But if she doesn't know about the money, then it's going to be hard for her to claim that money. So in the end, I understand kind of what you're doing here. I think it's fine to have some money set aside for an emergency, but I really personally think that this is something that should have been disclosed to her. So yeah, that's where I stand. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Saving money? Good. Keeping sole access to it? Fine. Hiding financial information from a spouse? Really bad move. So, as soft, you're the jerk. Yeah, I'm going to have to agree on this one. Never hide assets, even if they're for safety in case of emergencies. I'm not opposed to men or women keeping such funds or having split finances, but I prefer if divorces happen that everyone actually is upfront and honest, or a judge will throw the book at you and has historically done so in many cases. Alright, our next letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Wanting to Have Control While I Live in My Parents' Second Home? Hi guys, looking for some help here. I'm 35 and pretty successful. I have always had a good job and currently make $135,000 per year. I don't ask my parents for any other financial support. 5 years ago, my grandfather died and left a significant inheritance to my mother and her 2 siblings. My mother didn't know what to do with the money, so she invested in real estate. She allowed my wife and I to pick out 80 acres in a rural area, and then my father-in-law built our dream home. Their all expenses was about $1.2 million. $650,000 for the land, $550,000 to build the home. The assumption was that we would live here and inherit the property when my parents passed. It would also serve as a safe place for a zombie apocalypse if necessary. Fast forward 5 years, my mother has some serious buyer's remorse. She insists we consult her on things such as buying a pet, changing light fixtures, doing landscaping at our expense. I think this is just ridiculous. I just want to live my life and treat the house and property like it was mine. We spent $10,000 out of pocket on fencing and other upgrades to the property this year. My sister also lives in a house purchased by my parents. She does not make very much money, and to my mother's delight, she is a much more submissive tenant. The value of my sister's house is around $500,000. We pay below the market rate for rent, but she refuses to allow us to build equity. I can't afford the home and land we live on. We really love it here. It's everything we ever dreamed of. We have horses and cows in a great place to raise a family. It's very hard to walk away from. That being said, I'm almost there. I don't like feeling like I'm being controlled or under anyone's thumb. I feel like we should have a contract that allows us to build equity and invest in our own property. But we currently have a lifestyle subsidized by my parents that we really can't afford otherwise. This is really tough for me. I don't really want to be in this situation, but it's almost too good of a deal to pass up. My wife has grown attached, and I don't want to be stubborn and ruin a great opportunity. I also don't want to live somewhere where I'm not wanted or cause unnecessary stress and heartache. We get into a battle for control about twice a year where I tell her we'll move if she'd like us to, but she doesn't get to tell me how many horses are too many, etc. It ends up with her apologizing and tell us that she does want us to be there. Then we repeat the same cycle again, over and over. What started as a nice gesture seems to have become some crazy bargaining chip. That's not what I signed up for, but I feel stuck. Am I the jerk? Should I make more of an effort to pacify my mother at the expense of my pride and sense of ownership? Would I be an idiot to not try harder to make it work and be more submissive? We have a deal most would kill for. Is it possible to be thankful for the opportunity, yet demand respect for our home? This isn't an investment to us. This is where we are building our roots and want to grow. Edit, my father-in-law is a retired home builder. He worked on the project for free, but my parents paid for the house. Alright, OP. Let me get this straight. You're worried about building equity in the home that you're going to inherit? OP, you are building equity. It's called someday you are going to inherit this property. And in the interim, if your issue is how many horses you can afford here, or how many horses she'll let you have on the land, I think this qualifies as first world problems. Look, I understand, like, this is actually a problem to you. You feel like you're not being respected, but really what it seems like here is you're not respecting your mom. And it seems like you just want to own the house right now. And the thing is that your mom told you that if you live here and you stay here, then you're going to inherit this house. And I understand with the whole equity thing, like you're paying rent, and I'm sure you're paying, below market value, like what you said. And maybe it's a little unfair that you can't slowly purchase this home over time, over the course of 30 years or something like that. But it also sounds more like your mom just wants to have this investment property and wants to, also help you out. So I certainly understand where you're coming from here. I think, though, that you should pick and choose your battles. And if your battles are, I want 10 horses instead of 9 horses, maybe, just maybe, you should let that one go. It sounds more like you're doing these things because you know it's going to rub your mom the wrong way. And so you just want to kind of, I guess, see where that boundary is. You're pushing her boundaries, you're pushing her limits, so that, because you know she's not going to kick you out of the house. So again, I think you're being a little ungrateful here. I think you're being a little entitled here, especially for a property that you're eventually going to inherit. I guess the one disadvantage of this arrangement is that inheritance in this case isn't guaranteed. Because if you were paying equity, then you would be at least guaranteed to own the home, own it, because the bank technically owns it. So if something were to happen to your mom's financial situation, your livelihood and your house situation kind of depends on her not being in a bad position. But it also sounds like she probably has more money than she could possibly ever use. So, I don't know. Seems like a safe bet to me. Personally, I would just be happy and grateful for what you have here and really not push this too much. Anyhow, take care and good luck. You're the jerk. You have no right to be building equity if you are paying sub-market rent to your mother. Honestly, even if you are paying market rent, but couldn't afford the deposit to buy the place from her, or couldn't qualify for the mortgage needed, that equity would be just her giving you yet another gift. I totally get where you're coming from, but you have two choices. 1, go give your family the life you can afford to give them with your income. 2, continue to live as a renter in your mother's house, accepting that this is in fact what is happening. Enjoy as much freedom as any tenant would. But don't make alterations a tenant wouldn't have the right to make without permission. After all, your mother could just have rented the place to someone else who would follow all those rules, or could have had the money free for literally any other purpose. You make enough to be an independent adult. You don't make enough to be independently wealthy. You don't get to pretend living off family money is the reward for your mild success, and that the property has been earned. Make a choice. You're the jerk. You may not have paid a lot of money to be in the dream situation you're in, but you do have to pay in other ways, and the way you pay is by not being prideful and arrogant, and instead, you submit to your mother's wishes. You've got a sweet situation that many would give an organ for, and you're still complaining because you prefer not to humble yourself when your mom wants to be controlling over her own property. Sure, it would be great if she just handed it over the deed, but that's not what's going to happen here. You knew your mother before this arrangement was made, so now you have to deal with the bargain you agreed to. Here's the other reason you need to take it and smile. Your father-in-law, no doubt looking towards the interest of his daughter and her security, gave away a tremendous amount of his labor to build you your dream house. For you to jeopardize that by being arrogant and bristle at someone having authority over you and how you live your life is not okay. Your father-in-law didn't make a tremendous investment in the house. Yes, his labor is a tremendous investment. For you to mess it up because you couldn't fall in line and see this for the incredible opportunity that it is. It's your ethical requirement to pacify your mother at all costs in order to honor the investment others have made for your family and your future. That's what you signed up for, and now you have to pay the piper. Stop escalating with your mom to the point where you threaten to uproot your wife twice a year. It takes 2 to make this cycle to work, and you have to stop your half. And OP replies, wow, this may be the best piece and well-put advice I've ever gotten. Thanks. Yeah, exactly. There is a price to pay. There's always a price to pay, right? All right, folks. That's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. If you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching. Really sorry about yesterday's video. Hopefully it wasn't too bad. And hopefully today's video isn't too bad either, because I don't really want to have to re-record this. But I'm going to listen to this in a second and hope it isn't bad. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.